turning back.
Welcome back to the podcast, Last Boy Scouts.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm surviving. Again, I've been in survival mode most of my life, and I'm trying to eke my way out. And I have good days and I have bad days.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and the move is still crazy. You're still trying to settle into the house and trying to get everything squared away, and kids are back and forth with school stuff finishing up.
Yeah, finishing up school. Yeah.
This is their last week?
This is their last week of school before they're released into our full custody. So parents out there, I feel your pain.
Yeah. It's school is such a weird, like that whole every time you see kids and they're talking about their school and what they have going on, and then you like start to see them, like that's when you can really see your kids like start to mature or grow.
Yeah.
And hopefully make, I don't know if school teaches them very good quality lessons. I think mostly, they're there for a bit of time, and I don't know if the teachers are as engaged as they were once, or if they even have the ability to be as engaged as they were. I know Tristan, my younger son, man, he had a rough 9th grade year, and he wrestled full time.
Yeah.
And he was telling me the other day that there were times when right before a tournament, he would have to go to all of his teachers and beg for them to put it in an assignment that he had in his book bag or some shit like that, so that he could get grades to be able to wrestle at that tournament. And I literally had no idea that would go on.
Wow.
One, they weren't, no way was a teacher when he was in 9th grade, and I'm sure it's still the same way. Wasatch is the only high school up in Heber.
Yeah.
And there was over 2,000 students in that little tiny school, and those teachers can't take their time for one. But because he was on the wrestling team, he got so many passes.
Yeah.
Because he was on the wrestling team.
That's interesting because, my kids have struggled with grades this year too. And I think a lot of that has to do with the transitional period of life and dealing with the split home and what comes with that.
9th grade is a weird year. 9th grade, 5th grade, from what I gather, 5th grade, 9th grade, and then, your 12th grade year.
Yeah.
Such a weird. What was that?
The phone I did put on mute, but whatever.
I told Tyler he had to take off his watch because
I get distracted.
He'll get
It's
distracted.
so ADD. I need to probably take a Ritalin before. I'm trying really hard to reconnect with my nervous system. I don't believe in traditional ADD. I think it was something that Big Pharma had. They had the prescription before they had the diagnosis type of thing, and like they came up with the diagnosis.
Yeah. How's training been going? Good.
Yeah, it was really good. Last couple of weeks I've been hitting my training goals. I'd like to get a little bit more. Monday, Wednesday, and I'd like to hit every other Saturday when I can. But with the kids being out of school and it being summertime, it's going to be.
We just need to get you back on the Sunday schedule.
I need to get back on the Sunday schedule. I'm going
to tell Dearson that we need to get you back on the Sunday schedule.
Those of you who don't know, I do moonlight as a Zamboni operator.
That's right.
Now, technically, it is an Olympia, and there's very few people know the difference. Everybody calls it a Zamboni, but it's really.
What's the difference?
So Zamboni is a brand.
Oh,
Zamboni is a brand, but everybody just calls it it's a nice resurface machine.
Sure.
And the one we use is Olympia. So they're just 2 Canadian companies that make them.
It's sick. I've gone over there, and Tristan has given me a tour of the building, and I've watched him do it. It's cool. It's cool. Like the whole idea of shaving part of it and then putting water down to make the ice smooth again.
Yeah.
And each different discipline has its own make or cut.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And they have this machine that they can like dial it in digitally. Right.
Yeah. It's an art form, and there's no better people out there. Dearson went to the Olympics and
he did
it for the Olympics in South Korea. Not North Korea, South Korea, right? So he's an Olympian, and so that's the joke that I make, right? Because Salt Lake has a bid for 10 years. The Olympics may come back, and I'm like, I'm training for the Olympics. The other joke is that I'm training to go to the show. The show is the NHL, and with Utah,
we just got it.
Yeah, with Utah announcing their big NHL moves, I could be going to the show, guys.
Dang, man. Cutting ice for them.
Cutting ice. But to be honest, I love Dearson. I love the crew that I work with. The job itself is a lot of sit and wait, and it's getting to me.
Yeah.
It's getting to me to just sit and wait and like
not very much social interaction.
No.
Because people are coming in, and that's what Tripp says is like same thing. My younger son, he does the same thing with your guys's so and from what I gather, you have like older guys that do it who have one work ethic, younger guys who do it and they have a whole different set of work ethics. And Dearson is trying to manage all of those. Plus, you know, you and those younger guys, you guys are not there. You guys are on the same working platform.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can be like, no, man, show up for your shift. And they're like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
It is a strange dynamic, and Dearson does a great job. He's a great manager. But we're not just in charge of the ice. Like it's facility, right? Sure. Ice operations is the whole facility. So like, and honestly, I picked this up just kind of, I needed to get out of the house. I've now gotten to the point where like, I don't get enough socialization where I'm like, I might need to get out of the rink just cause like, I'm just doing it. And maybe we'll get into this, my struggling loneliness, but like, yeah, like, I don't love scrubbing poopy toilets. Right? That may be something you have to do. In fact, the other day I caught some kids in the bathroom. They had soaked a bunch of paper towels. Oh, no. And they just threw it up against the ceiling.
In the ceiling?
At the ceiling, yeah. Like, and it, then they were like, ah. And I caught them and I said, hey, you guys wait right here. And I went and got the scrub brush and made him clean it up. I'm like, I had to give him a little bit of leeway. We've all been that like.
I was that kid.
Punk ass. I was that kid too.
I still do. I'm 45 years old.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll walk into my bathroom at work, get a ball of wet paper towel, and I know who's in the stall and throw it against the wall. And and I'm 45 years old, man. I think that there are like things. So I'll tell my wife like some of the things that I do.
Yeah.
And she'll tell me like, how old are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean, how old am I? And she's like, I would expect like a young kid to do some of the things that you do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not that. She's like, yeah, how old are you? But like, I think there are some of those things where like guys do stuff that are like in my mind funny, you know, like you have a fart chain text message group or where you're like you make a funny fart and send it to like 10 guys right? And next thing you know, like every guy is trying to get onto that text message chain
better
because he's thinking, man, I've got some of the funniest farts. And my wife would be like, what?
Horrified.
Why would you ever in your lifetime do that? And it's just some of those things that guys do, right? Like we have some quirky things. So them throwing the paper towels against the wall is not out of the realm for me. And so I've been training a bunch also. I've been having a good time. I've been going to Lehigh once a week.
Doing no gi or gi?
Mostly gi because I go on Mondays.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was going on Mondays to try to help Kim and Kenny. To get ready for their super fights, and then I went last night to the class. Last night it was really fun. I went and actually helped Mike with the advanced kids class down there, and
it's a big old group,
dude. I will tell you that those kids are dialed in. They are soldiers. They were doing drills and he was like calling out their sequence. And there were about 26 kids. So groups of 13 and all lined up and each of them doing it. And there was only one group that Kim was working with that didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, most of the adults in our program would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
And these kids were like dialed in. And then when they were fighting, they started on their feet training, you know, and man, they were really, it was really fun to watch. And then, I trained with the adults last night and it was fun. It was a good group there. There's some fun training that happens in Lehigh sometimes. They had a little bit of a turnover, with some I think they're kind of dialing in again their group and their core group.
Yeah.
Olivia, she's getting ready. She's going to compete.
Oh,
the
good.
little blonde.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in a minute. I heard that. Yeah, she's
going to compete, and she's really technical, and so it's really fun to train with her. She was attacking my feet like crazy yesterday, so she's fun. So shout out to Olivia. Man, I'd like to give Anthony Pagano a huge shout out.
Wow,
dude.
yeah.
That was insane this week for him.
Yeah.
He got a shout out on Joe Rogan, and dude, it was cool. I seen it through the tattoo shop, and then I went and found it. And then I went and found the guy. So the guy is Greg Overton.
Okay.
I don't really know. We're gonna have Anthony on here. We're gonna talk a little bit about that whole scene from the back in the day, because I think they were back in the day Salt Lake friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he like shouted out Anthony on Joe Rogan, and what better platform for Anthony than to get a shout out like that?
Yeah. I mean,
that's the goal, dude.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Why do you think we started this?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna replace Joe Rogan, right?
Gosh, man. And so
me and every other.
We're going to have him on here. I talked to him the other day, and he's got a super fight coming up. He's training well. When he's kind of a big personality down in Salt Lake, like when you go into his tattoo shop, he's old school tattoo guy from Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Which is cool because, he's our friend.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's a monster on the map, but he's still like our friend. And so it's like one of those things where you don't realize who you're hanging out with until something like that happens. And then you're like, this guy gets a shout out on Joe Rogan. And then you kind of realize, oh man, he's been around and I've seen a lot of cool things. And so it'll be exciting to have him on here, and Professor's going to come on. We talked to him about coming on. He's going to come on soon, get that, talk about his kids programs and like how he develops that whole, what his path is for developing that kids program, because his kids program is really, really good. And when you witness it with your eyes, like I did yesterday, you realize how good it is.
Yeah.
Because these kids are like soldiers and they are ready to go. And when you call them out and you give them a encouraging to fight hard, they fight really hard.
Yeah.
And it's really quite fun to see. So
such a good program. Yeah. I think you should get your kids in jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
I'm trying real hard
to
do mine.
At least to like control, to control your emotions. And because I don't know if you guys, so this will come out on Friday. We're doing this episode on Tuesday. But today Tyler shared, just on his Instagram story that he was dealing with some things inside that he was just struggling with, and he quoted a line off of the Bob Marley movie. I have yet to see the Bob Marley movie, but say it again. What
so the quote is he talks about suffering. He's like, all my life I've seen suffering.
Yeah.
Right. I've never known so much suffering. Every day this stuff just happens to me. He goes, how can I preach peace when I can't even find it for myself?
Sure.
And like that quote just resonated with me, because I feel like in the terms of like doing the work. Right. I've done a lot of work.
You have.
I've done a lot of work. I've sat with my demons for a long time.
For sure. And we talked. So what happened is I seen his post and I knew that I was like, how I wanted to like address that and how I wanted to talk about that, because as a man, you're given a certain skill sets in your life. Right.
Yeah.
And then your childhood and everything kind of shapes some of those things. And then there's things that we're just not able to do because like chemically and our the way that we're built, we're just not able to be certain parts, certain things. We're not able to have certain emotions for too long.
Yeah.
And anger, frustration are not something that a man can sit with for a long time, because anger and frustration leads to sadness, disappointment, and to negative, like really, really negative things. So if you sit with those feelings and you cannot get out of those emotions, it becomes very dark for a man.
I would say right now, the darkest for me, as I deal with some of the emotional wounds that I'm going through with like the loss of my brother, which is what I was talking about. I said, interestingly enough, like the loss of my brother was very finite.
Sure.
he's gone, right?
Agreed.
And like there was a lot of closure there, but what surfaced is a lot of abandonment issues around my divorce.
Yeah.
Around this person that I have to quote unquote co-parent with.
Sure. And some of those things are like, you know, you know that you need that other person, right? Because we can't be moms.
Mm-mm.
And that's what I was telling you,
Right.
is like we're just not built that way. We're not built to
Right.
be like super nurturing. We go out to work. We bust our ass. We expect that of our kids. We are the hand. You need to have a hand and a pillow in a parent in a parental relationship.
Yeah.
You need to have a hand and you need to have a pillow.
Yeah.
And sometimes those roles are reversed, but for the most part, as men, we are considered the hand. We are the fist. We are this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then the mom usually is the nurturing. It's okay. Your dad was just having a moment.
Right.
I'm the pillow. And my
Right.
wife and I have those roles. And sometimes I get mad because it's like, well, I want to be the pillow.
Yeah.
Oh, you chew their asses. You go out there and chew ass. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm not a man. I'm not a boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to always be the asshole. I am consistently in my boy's life the asshole.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to say, oh yeah, my dad is rough.
Yeah.
My dad is rough. And they'll always say how nice their mom is until they do something that pisses off their mom. And then their mom tells me after she's chewed their ass, you know, but they always know she's the pillow. All they have to do is say, I love you, give her some batty eyes, and she just falls right back into that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how that dynamic would be different if you all had a girl.
Right.
Because like I feel like quasi with my daughters for sure that like one Cozy gets a slap on the wrist. Ben, I'm hard on Ben. Bryn definitely had it the hardest because she was our first, and we experimented on her, right? And then the dynamic of us splitting, and you know, now I get to be my own parent and do things how I want to do it, rather than like having to have that dynamic.
Sure.
Because I don't know that I always agreed with the parenting style that was chosen, but I would. Part of my trauma is that I pick up on people's emotions and I try to fix and solve those emotions. And sometimes if there's a negative emotion that I've attached to because my partner is sad, I was way hard on my kids.
Right.
And I didn't need to be that I was misreading the situation.
Sure. And with your kids, you know, so my kids, you know, I've gone through childhood, early adolescence, teenage, and now adult, different styles of life. And what I've noticed is that with my kids, right, I will never have the same connection that they have with their mom.
Oh yeah.
I will never have that same connection. I will always have a good relationship with my boys, but I have to work really hard to be a really good dad.
Yeah.
Right. My wife, she has this connection with my boys that I will never understand. And my boys, like the way they love their mom is really cool, is really a good thing. But I'm like sometimes envious.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, man, I got to work my ass off. I have to bust my ass to be a good dad. And if I piss my boys off, they're me.
They'll disown me.
They're me.
Yeah. What's interesting, like apply that same logic to your relationship with your own parents, because they were the first model that you got for parenting, right? Like my dynamic with my mom and dad is way different.
Yeah.
But I also now have gone through several different stages, different phases as I've grown up and kind of understood my own behavior and how I got it. And
then you have to think like, okay, what skill set do I want to pass on to my children, right? And a big thing is to how to have self-acceptance, right? To have to understand the roles that I'm just supposed to do. I mean, these are just our roles in our children's life, and we're adults, right? We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things. I'm going to do something that my children are going to see that I probably would not want them to do or be, right? But I'm a human. I make mistakes, and maybe I just once in a while I do something that I'm like, damn it. I wish they wouldn't have seen that. I wish they wouldn't have heard me say
yes.
what I said or what I've done. You know, I'm sure you've had that kind of a situation too, where you've like done absolutely. Where you've been like, shit.
Did not set the best parenting
I did
example.
not set the best example.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got an instance comes to mind today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got carried away. I got trapped in the emotion and I let the emotion win. And by letting that emotion win, you know, not that there needs to be winners and losers in a fight, but there are winners and losers in a fight. And I felt like a loser.
Yeah. Which is crazy because, you know, anger, like I said, as a man, anger and frustration are the two things that we are just not capable of holding on to. Mm-hmm. We're not, it does us no service to hold on to those emotions, right? It doesn't. When I was a young man, I would get very angry. And I can't put a reason why I would get angry. A lot of times I'd blame my dad for my anger. My dad wasn't there. My dad did this. My dad did that. Mm-hmm. And it would give me an excuse to be angry, right? And sometimes I would have some really bad emotional outbursts of tears, screaming, frustration, fighting in the bar, you know, causing a lot of chaos around me. And I didn't understand, like, what in my mind, it was like, I don't know why I'm angry. I don't know why I'm angry. I don't know why I'm frustrated. Yeah. After some counseling and some therapy that I did go to, it was more of like, anger is an emotion, right? Mm-hmm. It's just an emotion. Yeah. And how I learned how to deal with it was to accept the fact of like, no matter what, yes, I can be frustrated with my father. Yes, mm-hmm. I can. But to hold on to an anger towards him does me no service, does me no good inside of my body, mm-hmm. right? And when I really started to feel solace was when I found like wrestling, mm-hmm. MMA, where I would go in and get all that out, get all that frustration out. And then I could, no matter what, I could not be angry after those moments, right? And what I learned about myself was that simple idea that those emotions, those things that I'm not built to hold on to as a man, they do me no service. They do me no good, mm-hmm. right? And I want to be a person who does good for myself, right? Because I'm already going to be, I already have fucked up ears. I have a crazy look, and if I'm not careful, people are going to see me as an aggressive person, right? Yeah. So if I've already started with that idea that I'm an aggressive person, and I let anger and frustration carry on, that's only going to make that go worse for me. But if I'm like smiling all the time, and people ask me how you doing, I'm like, man, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. If I carry myself like that, nothing in this world is going to hurt me. I'm already have, like I said, crazy ears. I have a crazy look. I have tattoos. I have, you know, I'm not afraid to escalate the situation if I need to, but I never feel good after an anger situation. No, I never feel good. And those feelings. But Danny, just hear me out. I got it. Just hear me out. I've got one, like, the memories are forever. Jail time is temporary. Tell me you haven't wanted to tune that motherfucker up. Oh, man. Just once. Tell me you haven't wanted to tune him up. Man, we've talked about this. Yeah. I've played it out in my head how it would happen. Yes. Yeah. You know, I want to escape it. I am at a point where I feel this desperate need to escape, to the point where I'm like, how do I run away from this? Yeah. I need to change towns. I need to move cities. I want to move, but I have my children. Well, and you made a point to me that like I said, I feel that men feel is like, I understand an exit strategy. Yeah. I understand an exit strategy. Yeah. And I'm not saying watch the door, watch the window, watch the exit strategy. What I'm saying is there are men out there that get into these moments where they cannot deal with anger, frustration. They do not have an outlet. And the only thing that they can find is that this world would be better off without them. Absolutely. My poison right now is compulsively overthinking the situation. You know you've run through that scenario where you want to tune him up. Yeah. But
Imagine not being able to shut it down. Imagine not being able to turn it off. Imagine being laying in bed at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning and not being able to turn it off. Imagine waking up in the morning and it's still
First
there.
thing in your mind.
Yeah. I have definitely gotten to that point where I see there is a clear path to shut this down.
Sure.
It's very simple.
Sure.
It would be very easy.
Right.
Right. I know then that they win. If I choose that route, they win.
Right.
Whomever I'm fighting, my demons, they win.
Sure.
And I'm not there. I've got grit. I want to fight, but I am desperate for some peace
and quietness, right? Quiet the monster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Quiet the monster. And for me, understanding that I can't carry these emotions, right? And I'm not built for nurturing. I'm not built for like super sympathetic things. I'm not built for that. I'm not built to be like, I'm compassionate to a point, right? I will show you grace and solace to a point. And then at that point, there's no more grace and solace at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Because I shake your hand does not mean that you and I are friends.
Right.
It means that I've accepted the fact that I'm capable of violence.
Right.
And I'm not going to give you violence right now. I'm going to give you grace. I'm going to give you solace. If you take that for weakness, if you take that for weakness, I will teach you that there's no weakness involved in that.
Yes.
Right.
I love that philosophy. I really do. I think we as men have to sit with a couple of things. We have to sit with the reality of us not being in here anymore.
Sure.
Facing death. Sit with it long and hard.
Agreed.
Find some place where you are alone and you contemplate your own death.
Agreed.
Second thing you need to face is the darkness that you are capable of.
Sure.
Could you, I think we talk about this in an episode. Could you break somebody's arm?
Yeah. Could you break their arm?
Could you break their arm in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Right. Could you in a scenario see yourself, throttling the life out of somebody and feeling their body go limp as you take their life? Yeah. That is some darkness.
It is dark.
It's very dark.
And I think men do that. I think they do that, but I think that they do it to themselves as well.
Oof.
They take it to themselves and they see themselves. They see themselves. You see yourself not here tomorrow, and what would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What would that look like if I'm not here tomorrow, right? And because we are, capable of violence, we also have to understand that we are also capable of caring. We're capable of nurturing. We're capable of compassion. We are capable of those things. The things that we're not capable of is holding on to negative things. Because if you do start to go down that path, like you're talking about, you sit with yourself, you see the end, you know the end, you understand the end, and there's anger and frustration and all these negative feelings inside of you, it only exacerbates that. It only makes it worse, right? But if you go, I am capable of that, but look at how beautiful my life is. Look at all the great things that I have in my life. Look at my children. Look at my wife. Look at my life. Look at who I am. Look at who I've become despite the things that have happened to me or that I feel have happened to me. Then you are also capable of amazing transformations and amazing impact to people. And that's how I see myself, right? Because I was, like I said, when I was younger, I was a very angry man, a very angry young man. And man, I would say and do some things. I would say things that I look back on now that I think, how did I get away with that?
Yeah.
How did somebody not punch me in my face for saying and doing the things that I did? Well, because a lot of it was because I didn't have an end, right?
Yeah.
I would take it to that level of like, well, yeah, man, I'm capable of violence, right? And so maybe the people around were like, I don't want to see how far we can push Danny because Danny's, crazy. And now I know how great, and now I know how capable of kindness I am, and how kind I am with my smile, with my sincerity, that I don't even have to show it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But if you need me to break your arm, I'll break your arm.
Yeah.
And so as you your own personal, you start to look in right now as Tyler and I are talking about these things. You look inside and you're like, man, what are you capable of? What are you capable of? Are you capable of acceptance? Are you capable of looking at another person, shaking their hand, knowing that does not mean that you are accepting of them, that you're only letting them know that you are willing to find common ground.
Yeah.
And it's not a sign of weakness. It's not anything else except for, I know what I'm capable of and I'm giving you a pass.
Yeah.
Right. And even as our female audience, they may see this and they're like, man, I don't even know what violence is.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, I don't think that they're built for that. I don't think that they're built for violence. They are if they're put in that situation and they need to be able to defend themselves. And again,
right, the survival mode will kick in.
I encourage all of the people that I know to find some sort of martial arts, some sort of thing where you can defend yourself in a dark alley. But we were at Tyler and I are at the concert on Saturday. And there's just so many people around us at this concert, right? And I could just feel myself like, all right, I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
This group of these two kids walk past us, and man, this dude gives me a bump. He gives me a bump, and I'm like, hey, next time, say excuse me. He looked back at me, was about to say something smart ass, seen my eyes, and was like, got you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's an instance of like, hey man, I'm not joking right now.
It's funny too, because we're at a reggae concert, right? That's all like, it's everybody's all about happy, right? Like it's all about bopping around and like bumping around. And like, it's amazing how thoughtless people get and in your personal space.
Man,
right.
There were some people that were just like, what? Oh, I was right there. I was already up at the front. It's like, well, you're not there now.
Yeah. Yeah, move your feet, lose your seat, right?
You're spilling your drink all, and so what ended up happening is Tyler and I both looked at each other and we're like, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm good, because maybe just our own personalities were like coming of like, all right, let's kind of like let's go somewhere else.
Yeah. Right? It's true. You have to connect and you have to integrate your ability for darkness and violence, and you have to be able to show, like, I don't think anything is more beautiful than being able to show benevolence,
for sure,
that you are in control. And I think that comes with being able to control and regulate your nervous system. Agreed. Right? Like I've had situations recently where I've done exactly that. I shook somebody's hand in order to be socially acceptable, right? Like it's the socially acceptable behavior, knowing fully well I have dreamed of ending this person.
yeah.
And to say it in a polite way. And you're right. It doesn't constitute like we're now buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not, I'm sorry, we're not. It's like, well, I'll shake your hand, but like I'm now seeing through you. I now see, I'm water. I've moved past. I've moved around. I'm no longer in resistance, right? It's the same thing as if I hold my grip too long on somebody's gi, like it'll burn out.
Yeah.
And you can't hold your grip. You have to preserve that, right? For when it is necessary.
Sure. Yeah. And sometimes what happens is you mean for these things to happen. You mean for this is how it starts, right? You start with this small gesture, and the small gesture is not received the way that you want it to be received. And so what you do is you put how I would do this, like the expectation of myself. You put the same expectation on the person across from you, which is so unfair. Like you're expecting this person to be exactly like you and to take it exactly how you feel you would take it. Right. And I've had some personal experiences with that. One in particular was when Tristan was in 10th grade. He was having this killer season, killer wrestling season. And there were some guys chasing him on the team. And the way that I understood it, and the way that I've always done it with my boys, is like, it's okay, man. You just go against each other. Like, it's okay. I'm not going to give you any tidbits to how to beat your teammate. You just wrestle your teammate.
That spot.
Earn it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
What I didn't know is that on the verse side, those guys, those other teammates, were getting a bunch of information on how to beat Tristan from coaches on the team. Which I didn't understand that was part of the I just expected them to respond the same way that I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is Tristan ended up losing his starting spot the week before divisionals, which means he wouldn't have go to state. Now he's having this killer season, beats these kids handedly throughout the year, but because they're also during downtimes learning how to wrestle Tristan in their own wrestling room, which again, I'm not aware of these things. They were gaining ground on him. Plus, he is in the wrestling room and he's feeling this pressure, right? And he doesn't know how in his 16-year-old mind to talk to his dad that this is going on. We eventually find out some more information that I was just like, man, look back on that and it makes me very frustrated. Very. So when you lose your starting spot, you can then challenge up a weight. And that kid, Tristan for sure, probably would have beat, but I thought to myself, well, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to Tristan. Right? So why would I do that to them? Right? But again, I'm putting these expectations on people of myself, right? What I should have done was like, yeah, we're challenging for that spot because that's what you do, and looking back on it now, I have some regrets about it of not knowing the rules that we were playing within, right? And I get frustrated about it because I think how good he was, how good he could have been. He ended up quitting his junior year, quitting wrestling. And there are moments when I will replay in my head exactly what I would do if I seen some of those people today. And I go, Danny, knock it off. I mean, we're literally talking 3 years, 4. Tristan's a way better person. Now than what he was then. Right? He's exponentially better.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
He's exponentially better in his mind. But there are times that I'm like in this moment and I'm like, I am thinking about this thing that happened 3 years ago and I am trapped and I am angry, Tyler, and I am like it's all I can do to breathe. It's all I can do. My heart, I can feel my chest breathing and I can feel my chest tightening. I can feel all these things. And I am like, how did I get here? And I will, like you said, I'll be up at night for that moment that it's in my head. And I will have had a lot of interactions with these people. And I think, and then I have what normally happens is this really bad, like, letdown on myself because like I'm like, man, Danny, why did you do that? Why did you just waste 5 days?
Dude, you just explained the last 2 years of my life. The last 2 years of my life. I'm like, I have hit a point where I'm like, I cannot do this anymore.
No.
I realize that this is happening, right? But I feel completely powerless to stop.
Gosh.
So what
ends up happening is you be okay with it. You be okay with it. You just be okay with it. You're like, okay, there's a moment. I don't, when it first happened for the first 6-7 months, it would be a regular occurrence. And I could not go around certain people because I was afraid of what I would do. But now...
So you be okay with it in the sense that you just acknowledge the wound. Like, there's an emotional wound here, or you acknowledge the fact that, yes, I'm doing this behavior. And
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Whatever. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to clear my mind. I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to hug Misty. I'm going to... sometimes I will have a conversation with Tristan. And I'll be like, hey, do you remember this? And he'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, man, I really kind of dropped the ball on that. And usually he's super graceful and like, it's okay, Dad. Like, not that big of a deal. During the time, like, it kind of sucked. And he'll give me some more information about it. And we'll talk a lot about it, him and I. which always helps me. Talking always helps me. I think the first half hour of us sitting here, I could feel your energy drop. When I first got here, you were like amped up, and then now I can feel that everything is kind of like, okay, the pot has stopped boiling, right? And it's simmered down a little bit, right? Which is what happens,
right?
And I'm sure our audience, as we're talking about this, they're going to think of the things in their head that they hold on to, and then you're going to feel that moment of the water starts boiling over the pot. And it's still hot. There's still times, but maybe next time it's a little bit longer, and maybe you develop some habits: breathing, stretching, balance, journaling, fighting, getting it out of your system. Get it out of your system. Because if we went and trained right now, you would get it out of your system. You'd go to bed with starry eyes, and you would not think anything about it. You would sleep good tonight, and tomorrow the problem may still be there. You may wake up and you may have those. Just because it's right there, it may be one of those things that you just can't get rid of right now, right? But in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, it's going to be gone. Something else is going to be there, and you're going to find happiness. Super cool that it's light outside and it's almost 9:00 at night here in Utah. I think about that. And the most important thing that you can do, the most important thing to you that you can do is remember that this world is not better off without you. And your tribe, the people that you choose in your life, the people that see you for who you are, the people that do have the same values as you, that you can have expectations out of, will actually give the expectations. They're not going to hit it out of the park every time, right? You're not going to. I'm not going to always be able to check mark everything that Misty wants, correctly. But 85-95% of the time, I'm going to be pretty close to what she wants, right? And in my friendships, 51% of the time, if I'm doing 51% of the time really good with my friendships, man, I am winning. Especially with another man, because another man, man, what you're going through and what I'm going through, completely different. But we also know that I'm not built for nurturing another man's wounds.
No, I totally agree. I think we have to be able to at times link arms and say, yes, I felt the similar way, right? And it's similar but different, right? I'm not going to, and this is what I love about you, Danny, is that you never come over and say like, oh yes, I feel there, I've been there. I like you actually, you listen and you can say, I understand the feeling, right? But we have to realize this about the feeling. The feeling is this is where we need to guide that energy, right? And I think I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted by the last 6 months. I'm exhausted by the last 2 years. I'm desperate. I'm desperate for a solution. I am noticing the cycles and the patterns, and I'm like, how do I teach this piece when I see glimpses of it. I absolutely see glimpses of it.
And a lot of times you teach by just how you do. Right? Because we're not, and what I was telling Tyler earlier and how I approach jiu-jitsu and kind of how I approach life is I don't do 10% of 1,000 moves. I do 100% of 10 moves. I do 100%. I give 100% to 10 moves. I give 100% of 10 of whatever my feelings, emotions are in that moment. I don't do 10% of 50 different emotions, and I can't do that. I can't work like that. I can't function like that. I try to narrow everything down to something. Can I solve it? Can I solve it? Can I fix it? Right? And can it take a back burner for just a moment so I can go somewhere else for a little while and then come back to it, right? Because my relationships with people are genuine as long as there's an acceptance and an understanding that if I see your bullshit,
then
I'm only going to give you 10% of myself. I'm not going to give you 100%.
Yeah.
You're not going to know a difference. You're not going to know the difference. Only I'm going to know the difference. Only I'm going to know that I'm giving you 10%. I'm giving you a bunch of shit. But the people that I give 100% to, you're going to know. You're going to know that I'm giving you. You're going to know 100% that I'm right there for you, that I'm going to be there for you, and that I will take a moment to listen to you, and I will take time to really connect with you. And if I shake your hand and I don't like you, does not mean that we are buddies.
Yeah.
And if you take advantage of that, then you get one pass.
Yeah.
Right. If I do it again and you take advantage of it, then shame on me.
Yeah. No,
I don't give you another opportunity.
Yeah. I think I have to be very careful because I know I'm going to run into this person again.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I will run into him again. Yeah. And to him, precaution must be took because,
Yeah, because if people take your kindness for weakness,
right.
You have to teach them that that's not something that you should do.
Jail time is temporary.
Yeah, man.
Memories are forever.
Yeah. Well, and again, like fighting in jiu-jitsu, fighting in the academy, like, man, I've had disagreements with people. I've had disagreements on the mat with people where they felt that I was doing something or I was going really hard at them. And they did not understand why. And I was like, man, I was matching your energy. And I always walk away from that feeling like shit.
I think, and that part of this is my childhood trauma, right? Like I am super attuned, and this is where I sometimes get into trouble, right? Like I'm super in tune with what other people's feelings and emotions are on because that comes from having kind of parentified yourself. And I know I'm using a little bit of pseudo psychology here. Like having my mom and dad weren't fully functioning adults. And so we self-protect by becoming hyper aware. Right. And this is where I get into trouble where I'm not putting enough pressure. Right. I'm being too nice. I'm being too nice.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, on the opposite end of that, I'm being really mean and I'm matching your energy. Right. Like I'm matching your energy, but I recognize your energy. Do you recognize your energy?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because perhaps they feel like they are matching my energy, and I'm like, who's right here? Who in this scenario is right?
Yeah.
And that's mentally where I get myself in a little bit of trouble because I feel like in some cases I'm matching people's energy.
Yeah.
I'm just matching their energy, and I'm happy in the text message, but when I see them face to face, I see that quintessential red. Like I'm seeing red. Like, oh yeah, I'm pissed. Yeah, no. Before I was just kind of like matching your energy in the text message. Now I'm going to escalate and, flip you off because it's in my face a little bit more. There's some,
and my only caution, like I said, my only caution to people about that is that you will never feel good about that interaction.
No.
You will always look back with reflection of disappointment in yourself, frustration in yourself. And that's where I'm like, hey man, remember, even if you do that stuff, even if you have a momentary lapse of judgment and you give the bird, you take that arm and you put it on a little too hard and that person is now, man, that person can't train for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Like, okay, accept that about yourself.
Yeah.
Learn from it about yourself. Move on. Don't make this situation worse by overthinking the situation and then trying to find a solution to something that you're never going to find a solution to.
Yeah, it's interesting. In our earlier conversation, like you brought up a good point. Like here I am thinking that I'm very aware. Like I'm very aware of everything that's going on. And look at me, I'm very aware. How accepting of myself. Then I'm aware of how all these switches are firing in my brain. But then you said something to the point that just kind of stopped me dead, that Tyler, you're not accepting yourself.
Yeah, you're not accepting it. You're not accepting it. You're not.
And being able to explain it is not the same as
it's not the same thing
as being able to accept it or as accepting it.
And we've talked about this before. You have a very, very, very healthy vocabulary.
Yeah.
But being able to put a word attached to your feelings does not mean that you understand your feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just means that you know how to describe your feelings.
Well, I would say that like I know, well, first and foremost, I know one of my principled realities is I'm not my feelings.
Yeah.
My feelings are just telling me something.
Sure.
They're just indicators.
Yeah.
It's just a different language of the nervous system, right? That doesn't mean I always respond or react to them in the most clear headspace.
I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you. I sent you, so I know you know who Deepak Chopra is.
Yeah.
I sent you that thing, so I've been doing that mindful meditation, and all it does is it talks about it, like as I'm breathing, it tells you the things that you're going to work on that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing it, but I've been practicing of like some of these things of how I'm going to teach people, like just to nasal breathe. And I didn't really like know, like a lot of times it's like, just keep your mouth closed, but I've been practicing with hostage tape to tape my mouth shut as I'm breathing with a hostage, with a nose thing to open it up. And it's like, it does help because you do get into some little bit of like, oh, I can't breathe. Oh, I can't breathe. I'm just breathing through my nose. But before, like I could go take a breath through my mouth if I needed to. But now when you have the tape on your mouth, you can't. And so it forces you to do some things that, like, it forces you into some things. And sometimes forcing yourself to do things, forcing yourself to acknowledge some of these things is a good thing. Yeah. Not holding on to them so that you are going through this washing machine of emotions. You know, you want to force yourself to acknowledge them and to accept them, and then learn how to breathe underneath 250 pounds of full pressure. Yeah,
we had that conversation because I think I told you I'm dealing with this feeling of crippling loneliness, and I was explaining to you how similar that felt to the leche de padre, the father's milk, the smother tap for those of us.
Smother tap.
It's miserable, but like I remember the first time it ever happened to me, you panic.
Yeah.
You were in full panic.
Yeah.
Right? Now I know that like I've only got to survive 3 minutes. But like as I'm telling Danny, as I'm dealing with this like anxiety, this crippling anxiety of like loneliness, like I don't know, whatever. I don't really know what's causing it. Like I don't have a real reason to feel this loneliness, but it's like the panic is setting in because I don't see that timer. And so how do we sit and get comfortable in those feelings? So we can, because the feeling is the exact same. It's that same exact emotional state of panic. Right.
To be continued.
Yeah, it feels exactly the same. To be continued.
All right. To be continued. And so like, again, you're not required to answer the question, the full answer every day. Yeah. You're just required to make small gains, small adjustments, and remember that you're not a teacher.
Yeah.
You're a student.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing.
If you're trying to teach something that you're in the middle of learning, you're going to be teaching 10% of something that you know 5% of.
Yeah.
That's why to me jiu-jitsu is beautiful, because I never have to be a teacher. I can show you where I'm at in my journey, and I can explain to you where I'm at in my journey, and I can explain to you how Professor explains it to me. And then he will do the exact same thing to you, and he'll never take a teaching role to you. He has to teach a class. He teaches you moves, but he teaches you concepts. Right? Which is what you're doing in life. You're just learning concepts in life, right?
Yeah.
And so if you just take a student role in everything that you do, you're never going to feel like you have to be this high level person that needs to teach everything. You can just like, man, this is where I'm at in my life.
Man, save your grips and little sips.
Little sips and save your grips.
Let's wrap this up because we've hit almost an hour here now. So, but like Danny, thank you so much. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to just have these kind of chats as men and just be like working through it. And for me to be able to sit and say, yes, I did it wrong. I'm not accepting myself.
Sure.
Wow. Powerful.
Yes,
it was a powerful message today.
It's a good day. Summer camp, get signed up for summer camp. We're going to have some guests coming in the next couple of weeks. Man, hopefully we get some DMs and some people that want to come on and be more interactive and give us their insight. Yeah. Right.
We got a couple, we just need to get them lined up. I think we're going to change how we do the podcast a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll still plan on releasing every other week, but how we record, we're going to try to get a better. We're always trying to do better. So keep after it. Keep being better. 1% better.
Yeah.
Man in, 1% better.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Rise up, no turning back.